People think that making money is hard. I think making money it's easy. We can work 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week. You can make a lot of money. But managing the money is the most difficult part.
That's right. I always say profit is king, right? If
Exactly.
there's no profit,
Exactly.
All those 80 hours are gone to waste. Yeah. Today's guest is an entrepreneur and innovator with a remarkable journey. Axel is the founder of Garden Lust, Sydney's #1 landscape company specialising in horticulture. In 2019, he not only launched and scaled the business quickly, but also pioneered the industry's first subscription model, securing over $1 million in subscribed customers in less than a year. Beyond business, Axel is also a multi-property investor across Australia and Europe. His story of building a thriving company while growing a property portfolio is a powerful example of how vision, determination, and smart investing can create long-term wealth. What makes Axel's journey so inspiring is that he's achieved success across very different industries, showing that the principles of discipline and innovation apply everywhere. Today, we'll unpack not just his business journey, but also his property journey and the lessons listeners can take away for their own investing path. Axel, welcome to the Invest Smarter, Grow Faster podcast.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. And it's actually you're the first investor that we've had on the podcast so far. And we thought it'd be great to have a bit of an investor series where we talk to some investors who've actually built a portfolio. It'd be great to unpack that later on in the discussion.
Thank you for having me, Julian. It's a pleasure.
Great. So, mate, what we normally do is just start. It'd be great to just learn a little about you. There's obviously a bit of an accent there, so it'd be good to hear where that's come from, a little bit about your origin, what got you to Australia, and where you are today in terms of business.
I'm originally from Paris. I come from a low socioeconomic area, just outside Paris. It's called Sevran. Mm-hmm. I grew up most of my life in a housing commission before moving to Australia in 2014. I opened a gardening business in 2019, and since I have invested in properties as well.
And so what got you to Australia?
So what got me to Australia, I had quite a rough upbringing, and I was trying to find a new way, a new life. And I met a girl in a nightclub I was working in Paris and decided to follow her to Australia. So in January 2014, I moved to Australia following this girl.
Normally the story that goes.
Exactly. So we are French and we are always trying to follow the love of our life. So this is what brought me to Australia.
Yes, she wasn't tempted to stay in France with you.
But she was she already booked her ticket.
Yeah.
So I decided that it was an opportunity for me to leave my suburb, and I took that opportunity, and I not regret anything.
Excellent. So before we get on to the Australian, I guess, phase of your life, tell what was going on in Paris for you then? What were you doing? Did you study? Did you go straight to college?
So I will take you back to my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So at 6 years old, I was living in a housing commission. My stepdad was a building caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I started noticing that people were coming to his office to pick up packages. So I thought it would have been a great opportunity for me to take those packages to the tenants of the housing commission. So I started bringing those packages, and they were giving me some tips in return. So back in the days, it was 10 francs. It was before the euros.
Right.
And at that time, I understood the principle of services, offering a service to people. So very quickly, I had to learn how to manage that money. Then my mom sent me to the bakery. I knew exactly how much I was supposed to get as soon as I bought the baguette, because in France, we do have to buy a baguette every day.
Of course.
So I had to learn all that things at a very young age. And then when I grew up with my mom, we were collecting cancel cleanup items. And we were trying to resell them to make money.
Would you restore them as well, or just
Not so
Probably
much.
straight
Just give
away.
it a
Yep.
clean, and then we were trying to sell them back to people. And then I bought some clothes from the market, and sell them at school. I was only like 12 or 13, so I learned the principle of markup. So buy low and sell high. So during that time, it was very fun for me because I was learning, being street smart. With my mom was teaching me the power of negotiation. She told me everything is negotiable. So I had to find new ways to make money through my life when I was a teenager. Despite I was learning about how to make money, I didn't know how to manage money. People think that making money is hard. I think making money, it's easy. We can work 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week. You can make a lot of money. But managing the money is the most difficult part.
That's right. I always say profit is king, right? If
Exactly.
there's no profit, well,
Exactly.
all those 80 hours are gone to waste. Yeah.
Exactly. So a little bit later, I found different jobs. So I started being a gardener at the age of 14 years old.
Wow.
So I did my first work experience of 5 days at 13 years old, so a year before, and someone gave me €5 tip, and I quickly came back home and I gave them to my mom, and I said, "Mom, this is for you." And she said, "No, you should keep those $5 as a reminder for your hard work." So I kept those $5. I didn't spend them. And I probably, it was €5. I probably still have them somewhere in a box.
You should frame that.
Yes. So that's what I did. And at 17, I was a dancer, professional dancer as well. Mm-hmm. So I was being paid €20 a night. We were doing, with my best friend, we were doing like hip hop and electro dance.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And we were actually doing, for the Jewish community in Paris, we were doing like all the bar mitzvah on Sunday. Yep. And we are getting €20. So that was a very fun experience as well. A little bit later on, I started organizing underground parties as well. So in a abandoned train in Paris, an abandoned boat, warehouses. And I realized that I was able to bring people together and making money out of it. At that time, I didn't know I was an entrepreneur. I just knew that I was creating something that was different. After that, I realized that Paris was still difficult for me. My environment was difficult to feel. Like I could say that it was a little bit toxic in some ways. Yeah. So I had to escape. And that's how I escaped.
Nightclub bar scene normally
Exactly. So after those underground parties, I was through my entire life, I was a gardener. Until that time, until today, I still have a gardening business. Yeah. So I have been a gardener since 14 until now. I'm no longer on the tools, of course, but I'm still part of the landscaping industry.
Well, looking like you are, people on YouTube can see how well Axel dresses.
I still enjoy going in the garden. Yeah, rarely, time to time, to just use the tools, but I do no longer have the need, which is rewarding for me.
Yeah, and going back to, I mean, obviously, even though you said you didn't think you're an entrepreneur, but talking about your background, but I'm assuming on the dinner table, money wasn't something that you discussed a lot in terms of, the investing and that side of money?
So me telling you that whole story was because money was discussed, but because it was a struggle.
So it was about survival rather than...
It was survival, exactly. So through that entire, like all those memories I just gave you are based on one strong memory I have. I left school a little bit earlier on that day. It was a Tuesday. I went back home and I've seen a man in my living room. I was worried. I said, "Who is that man?" I said, "Why is there another man in my living room with my mom?" And he was actually the debt collector. Yeah, right. And he was listing everything in our living room. And I was a little bit confused. I said, why this guy is listing the TV that I found in the street? So I realized that we were in financial difficulties. And my mom was always telling me, like, get a job and then do whatever you want with your life. But you need to learn how to save. Sadly, I didn't learn how to save until I was on my own in Australia.
Wow. Great story. Yes. So fast forward to Australia, you get here How was your English?
So I arrived in Australia in January 2014 with no English.
No English.
No English at all.
So explain to me how you met and romanced this young Australian girl to follow her back to Australia. Did she speak French, I'm guessing?
No. So that girl was French. I follow her. She had a flight ticket booked for Australia, but she was French.
Okay.
So I follow her to Australia. Her English was slightly better than mine. On the second day in Australia, I had my first interview with a landscaping company. And I remember asking her, what do I say if I don't understand? And she said, you say what? I say, are you sure? Am I supposed to say what? And she said, yeah, if you don't get the question, just say what, and he's going to repeat. I was like, okay. So I went for the interview, and a couple of times I was like, what? What? And after 3 minutes, I had to go. He said, okay, thank you. I'm going to give you a call back, or maybe an email might be better.
Yes.
So for the next 3 weeks, I was constantly sending emails to ask them for a trial. And I remember I kept saying one sentence. It says, sorry, my English is bad, but I know my job. They gave me the opportunity to work with them. And after a couple of months, they offered me a sponsorship. Sponsorship has allowed me to stay in Australia and gave me the chance to later in the future to get the citizenship, which allowed me to then open a business and buy properties.
Wow. So just taking that opportunity to come here and just trying to find that right job, someone's giving you that chance, and I guess the rest was just your hard work and persistence.
Exactly. So I was very, very committed. I always worked very, very hard. For me, it was clear that I had to change my life. It's actually, there's a funny story is when I came to Australia and I saw that people were lining up politely to catch the bus. For me, I realized that I had to change something in my life because I'm from a very chaotic environment. And I saw how Australians are very polite, friendly, organized, efficient. So I felt inspired to do the right thing in the future. So no more criminality, bad environment. I had to think like differently and build a honest and a ethical business.
So we'll fast forward again. So you've gone through that, you get your sponsorship. Then what gave you that moment to say, okay, I'm going to now go out on my own, take another big risk?
So my mom came to Australia to visit me. So I had to pay for her flight ticket. And at that time, I was working in a flat share in Bondi, the typical French story in Australia. And so I was living in that crappy apartment on Campbell Parade.
All right.
With cockroaches and
lots of noise.
Yeah, bed bugs and stuff like that. So when my mom came and she said, "Oh, beautiful life in Australia, but your place is a little bit," I said, "Don't worry, I'm working on it." And during that week, it was the first time that my mom was visiting me in Australia after like 5 or 6 years, and I had a very, very physical job. And for 5 days, I was carrying bucket of soil up and down the stairs and in Mossman. And I found it so difficult that I had to change something again. So I tried to move from the position of gardener to designer. And I realized that it was more difficult than expected. So it was my mom, she said, just go on your own, do whatever you have to do. And once again, my mom gave me that advice, get a job and you do whatever you want with your life. That's what I did again. So I left the company and I decided to go on my own. So I took a risk. I went to the car dealer, got my first debt with the car dealer. I probably, I think I had only $5,000 on my bank account. I probably spent $3,500 in a deposit. I had $1,500 left on my bank account and I started the business.
But I mean, your equipment alone would be very expensive, correct? Or did you buy secondhand equipment as well?
No. So what I did is I probably bought maybe just the first mower.
Yeah.
And I was secretly using my client's equipment from their garden for 6 months.
Wow.
Yes. So I was taking the whippy snipper of one of my clients, which is one of my most loyal clients and a great friend of mine now. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity he gave me. But I did borrow the whippy snipper without him knowing.
Right.
So for the first 6 months, I was able to build up cash, save a little bit, and buy more equipment for the business. I remember the van didn't have any stickers on it, no setup at the back, so it was a little bit of a mess. I think I didn't even have buckets to collect the green waste. I was using like plastic bags.
Yeah, right.
So it was a challenge for me as well. And maybe on the second day, I thought that I will be, I was my own boss. So I decided to start work at 11 a.m. And I was like, so great. I can start at 11 a.m. And I realized that actually this was not work. So on the third day, I hired my first employee, show up at 7 a.m. and did the job.
On the third day, you hired your first employee.
Yes. And on the second week, when I had to pay his salary for the first week, I didn't have cash yet.
No.
So I was like, So I had to invoice clients quickly. And as soon as I get the cash, I pay him first. So I'm safe. He's gonna come back to work tomorrow. But this is a struggle with most entrepreneurs. They pay their staff, which is our priority. We must make sure they are paid for their work, and then we pay ourselves after. But we don't build a business and go on our own to not have a salary. This is silly. We work 80 hours a week, and at the end, we don't have any salary.
There's always a joke with entrepreneurs right away.
Exactly.
So yeah, we work to pay our staff.
Exactly. So we think there is like freedom, but the freedom comes only later in the journey. And you have to educate yourself and think differently to understand how can you pay yourself and how can you earn money that you don't have to work again for it.
And so the business grows. You start working, correct me if I'm wrong, eastern suburbs, North Shore. You talked about Mossman earlier.
So yeah, exactly. So I started, I was only targeting high-end residential houses. So from $5 to $100 million, all the way from Palm Beach, North Shore, Lower North Shore, Eastern Suburb. We even got a big property in Newcastle, rural Newcastle, New South Wales as well. So I didn't have a limit. I just know.
You were traveling quite a way.
Yes. So at the moment, my employees complain about traveling a little bit too far, but I used to go to Palm Beach every day for work for a couple of years. So Palm Beach is not that, So it's not that far. It's only 50 kilometers away.
Against the traffic as well.
Traffic, the 8 hours on site under the sun. So you got a little bit of exhaustion. So it's I understand, but you have to do what you have to do to get the business going.
So the business grows, and then you start thinking about investing.
So as on the first year, so I had like few challenges in my personal life. So I lost my stepdad on the first year of the business. My uncle passed away a couple of years before. My mom had like health issues. And I was thinking, how can I make money without the need of being at work or in Australia? My goal was financial and geographical freedom. So as soon as I opened the business, I said, I am my own boss now. I push the mower every day for hours. What can I do to improve my life? So I started listening hundreds of books about self-development, real estate, money, and financial book, any kind of books that will help me to grow. So I did that for hours and hours. I was listening probably one audiobook a day. So 7 hours straight, sometimes a couple of them. I was listening to podcasts. And I realized that if I want financial freedom, I have to invest my money in something that will give me that freedom in the future. So property was definitely something that I had in mind very early on, that I was able to achieve only by opening a business, educating myself, and then being consistent.
Wow, it's quite a journey. So Here we are. Your business is up and running. You're educating yourself, self-educating yourself, and then getting inspired by others, podcast, books. And so what was the first step of investment? How did you go about that? Obviously, finance is the key, right?
Correct. So very quickly, I was saving money and I did not know how much I needed for a deposit. I was not very educated on the process. So I was thinking, what do I have to do to get my first property? So we think we need like 20% deposit. We need to think that we have to save for so many years. We need to earn that amount of money. So we do have to save for a long time if we are consistent. It depends based on your job and your responsibilities if you have kids. But I was lucky enough to do not have kids, no responsibility outside of the business at that moment. So I started contacting different professionals to understand how things work because I am not used to the Australian law. English is my second language, so there is a lot of words and sentences that was a little bit complicated for me to understand. And I then the first step was to contact a mortgage broker. So I contacted a mortgage broker, and the mortgage broker told me, you can't buy a property, you do not have 2 years of financial record with the business. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. I thought I will be able to buy my first property very, very quickly. And then he started explaining me all the steps. So, okay, so I'm going to be able to buy a property maybe in 1 or 2 years now. I need that amount of cash saved. So how can I do that?
It's the opposite of what we think, right? We think, well, my business is up and running. I'm earning good income. I'm making a profit. The bank's going to love me. And as a business owner, when you go there and they're like, nope, go away. If you're an employee, no problems. They'll give you a loan straight away.
Exactly. So I was even thinking that even right today, I'm earning a good income. I have multiple properties. And I'm still confused about why I cannot buy even more.
Yes.
I'm like, that's so frustrating. And so many of my friends or even my employees, they look at me, you're running your own business, you make a lot of money, you buy properties. I want to do the same. So do you want to earn money or you want to buy properties? I say, if you want to buy properties, I will help you to reach your goal, but it's easier for you to be an employee because you get finances. It's easier for you to get finances. So they don't understand the process often. So there is a clash in the mindset, or once you have experienced the process. So for me, I was able to save after 2 years. I understood what I had to do. So the business had to show a net profit. And I was also paying myself a salary at that time to make sure it was just a little bit easier for me to understand the numbers. There is multiple ways how to declare your income as an entrepreneur with dividends, salary. People can check with their accountant the best way. For me, it was just clearer to pay myself a salary and trying to save as much within my own salary because I was used to do that while being an employee.
So in your industry though, was cash quite prevalent? Hopefully ATO won't be listening to this, but did you have a mixture of cash and...
So I have been offered a lot of cash very quickly. It's very attractive we want to say yes because we see the cash. However, I understood very, very early on that if I want to invest in properties, I have to show numbers to the bank. And so more sales I make on paper and will help me to buy a property in the future.
Yeah, it's something that people don't think about. I mean, the ATO release the top 20 industries or professions, for property investors, and trades don't appear anywhere because they have a lot of toys because they're spending their cash on the toys, but they don't tend to be prevalent property investors because the banks, it's all about serviceability now.
Exactly. So there is a misconception within often with traders who run their own business. Firstly, they often run their own business as a sole trader, and they don't really understand the power of a PTY LTD. And then they will try to do not pay tax. Say, I don't want to pay tax. This is a tax deduction. I want to buy that new yacht. I say, if you want to invest in properties and get the freedom in the future, my recommendation is to cut expenses, save money, pay your taxes, and then invest in properties. And often they realize that they don't show enough net profit at the end of the year, or the salary is not high enough, and they cannot invest in properties.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to pay tax and be a good citizen, but also if you're paying tax, that means you're earning good money. So it's not a negative on that sense.
No, it's you're totally right, because I think it's very important to firstly to pay tax to be able to live in such a beautiful city like Sydney.
Yeah.
There's nothing to complain. It's safe, it's clean, there's good people, we got job opportunities. So paying tax is definitely a good thing. And if this allowed us to borrow money from the bank and making sure that the bank is lending money to someone who is responsible, including for the city and for themselves, I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Search Party Property, nominated by REB as Australia's best buyer's agency and buyer's agent for 2025. Looking for your dream family home, a prime commercial property, or a smart investment? We've got you covered. Unlike others, we don't rely on selling agents or property managers. We have boots on the ground in key investment cities across Australia. Powered by data-driven insights, we give you the edge to secure the best deals. Ready to invest smarter and grow faster? Contact Search Party Property today for a complimentary discovery call.
So we go back to the bank a couple of years later. What was your thinking then? It was property, why property over shares, ETFs, Bitcoin? Why did property become the asset class you're going to go to? And then what did you do from there?
So my mom had a passion for properties, and so I got that from her. I did not understand. I had zero financial education, so I was not able to understand shares, bonds. It was like another language to me. I have since educated myself, but I still do not enjoy them. I prefer the physical asset because for some reason, even if I have no emotional attachment to my investment properties, I still think that anything happen, I still can live in my properties, you know. I wanted to focus on properties also because we can see the growth and we can also bring value to the properties. I don't renovate to a larger scale. I will focus on cosmetic renovation, which I actually enjoy more. There's people who like building the house from the foundation. I like just styling the property. I get rewarded also by having good tenants living in my properties and making sure they're happy while living there.
So you get the loan, and let's talk a little bit about if you don't mind sharing, whatever you like to share.
Sure.
Your portfolio now. So you've got one and you've grown that up, but maybe just take us through. I mean, a lot of investors always want to be inspired. Like, how did you grow from zero when you got to this country? I think you said you had a couple of $1,000s to own now 3 properties. And how did you keep buying? What was the secret sauce?
So I was able to buy my first property. So I was able to borrow around $530,000. At that time, I had saved around $95,000 for a deposit, and I did 10% deposit, and I use LMI because those expenses are tax deduction when it's an investment. So I didn't have more cash to buy at 20%.
So how did you learn about that? Because obviously we see a lot of people coming out, I don't want to pay lenders and mortgage. They see it as a terrible thing to do. When I explain all of the properties we've ever bought have been 10% because I'm happy to pay that. Why did you go down that route?
After having contacted the mortgage broker quickly told me that I could not afford a house in Sydney. So I started to think, how can I invest elsewhere? Because I got the loan approved, but I need to know where to invest now. So that's how I started to be interested in a buyer agent. I said, how can I invest in properties elsewhere without the need of going to that location? So that's how I ended up using your service. And even that short intro meeting we had over Zoom, you have given me so much values and information that has given me a better strategy to implement in the future. So firstly, buying an investment property, most of people buy a property with emotions. Using a buyer agent has given me the chance to remove that emotion. I didn't want to feel attached to that property, mostly because I'm from France, and if I have to go to France, I don't want to cry, thinking, "Oh, I lost my property." So we were focusing on the numbers and making sure that the growth was there for me in the future to give me that financial freedom I was looking for. So after buying the first property, the process was one of the easiest process I had experienced. Everything, it's very hard to buy a property, having the contact, the lawyers, mortgage broker, and for me, being able to connect all those people together and also having access to contact through the different professionals was like something very, very valuable. So the mortgage broker, of course, knows all the bank, buyer agent, yourself, you have contact with other agent. So by myself, it will have taken me probably over 10 years to build such a network, maybe even more. And knowing that it's not my first language, I don't know the law, it will have been even more complicated.
It is tricky also. I mean, you're obviously leaving the house probably 6 a.m. to get on a site by 7 a.m. to start the lawnmower or the digger. And then you're getting home probably 4 or 5 o'clock. You're driving from Palm Beach, you would be. So yeah, you can't buy property at nighttime is what I say to many people, right? So a lot of people with office jobs tend to have a lot more time, particularly now people are working from home. They can hide a little bit easier, but you don't have that luxury of time.
Exactly. I tend to forget that I was working on site. And when you are working on site, you don't have the time to call everyone, going to inspect those houses. So for me, it was using when people hire me, they hire me for my expertise. If I don't apply the same principle in my life, I'm going to be losing. So it was clear for me that I had to use people with expertise for me to be able to grow and start building my portfolio in property.
Yeah, fantastic. So first property you bought in Brisbane, and I've got some numbers here. We did a bit of a report for you. You paid that $520 for that, and the rent was now your rent is at $710.
Correct.
Quite a jump. So the very strong yield, and the current value of that property is around $900,000. You were saying?
Yes, correct. So on domain,
it was
like
over
close to $1 million. I like looking at the
Let's
higher
say it's
number.
$1 million.
It excites me a little bit more.
So if we say that, I mean, I was being conservative.
Yeah. We do like conservative numbers, and I'm more like the 10x the type of guy. I want to think big.
So let's just take your numbers.
Yes.
Then. So you're looking at something. You're about an 80% growth.
So
you bought that at the end of 2021.
Correct. So it was actually mid-COVID.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
We were all at home. That's why I remember you talking to me at home. Yeah.
Yeah. So even it was a tough time for the business, but also an opportunity for me to use professionals because I could not go outside.
That's true. Yeah, you're locked.
Exactly. So I bought the first property. Is my best performing asset at the moment. I bought it. It was already rented with great tenants. I barely done any renovation in it. The location is perfect. I could not be happier. This property has given me the freedom and the opportunities to buy more properties later on, which I didn't know at that time that we could do equity release. And
so at that time, I guess when we speak, we talk about that and we paint that picture for you, how we build a portfolio and work backwards and work forwards and let's set up a goal. But I guess for you, it was just the excitement of getting one property.
Exactly.
And then you see the equity come. And then what happened then?
So you were educating me on like equity release and growth, but I haven't experienced it yet. So I did not know what it felt. So I started seeing the property growing, and I was like, oh, the property is growing. What can I do? It's like, I don't want to sell it. If I sell it, I only get like a couple $100,000. It's a lot, but I was like, why would I do that? I was still in my wealth building phase. So I reached out to mortgage broker to try to assess my borrowing capacity again. I say my first property is increasing. I have saved again. Can I buy? Sadly, the second year I didn't pay tax. I mean, I reduced my tax bill to the minimum, so I was not able to borrow. And at that moment, I learned that I have to pay tax and show better numbers to be able to access more cash with the bank. So this has trained me. And during that time, you have actually followed me through the process. We did had a couple of phone calls and Zoom call, and we were preparing for my future properties that I will be buying later on. So in 2023.
Yep. So literally 2 years, almost exactly 2 years later.
Yes. Yep. I was able to buy 2 properties within 1 year. So I buy the first property was around the second property on that year was around $430,000, I think.
Yeah, closer to 450 actually.
Yep.
The buy price. Yeah.
Yep. So I bought this property, and my borrowing capacity at that time was $800. I wanted to focus on positively geared house, so I only bought a cheaper property than my borrowing capacity.
So we bought that, and that you're getting about $600 a week rent.
That's
that
correct.
property you paid $450 and $600.
That's correct.
And on the growth on that, $648. So that's about a 46% growth.
Yes, and it's still very early. There's a lot of potential in that property. I had the chance to renovate the floors, the walls. I'm currently looking at changing the kitchen to improve it. So this is giving me even that growth hasn't been included in the numbers yet, because more value you bring to the house.
Well, yeah, you spend 20, you're probably going to lift it by 50 potentially, right?
Exactly.
So at least doubling.
Yes, exactly.
With the right type of.
Yep.
So that was great. So you get to 2.
Yeah.
And then you started already planning for the third based on the equity releases of 2 properties now. The compounding interest of growth. Yeah.
Exactly. So I bought the first property, the equity, that property has grown. Second property, I was waiting for 6 months, and after 6 months, the property already took like $50,000. So I reached out to the mortgage broker again. He said, well, your borrowing capacity was $800,000. You bought one around $400,000, and you got already equity in both properties. So let's try to get a third one. And at that time, I was changing the model of my business, and I knew that I had to step back to grow the business. So I was preparing to not be able to borrow more in the coming year. So it was very important for me to borrow that third property within that year.
Yeah, I remember that. And I remember we talked about, do we buy one property at 800?
Yep.
In a obviously we'd get a closer in the closer ring, potentially to Brisbane at that stage. We're talking about, or Perth was now beginning to show some really good signs. We were heavily buying in Perth.
Yep.
And we've always bought houses. So you're very focused on the appreciation of the land, correct?
Exactly.
Which would have been new for you. Sorry to butt in, because coming from France, I'm assuming never lived in a house, and it's always about living in apartments. And
so yeah, there is a story where my mom owned and has built a house, but we didn't have the money for the payment for the loan. So she always rented that house to someone.
Right.
So we lived in housing commission. We had a house, but we could not live in it. So now she can finally live in a house.
Right.
But it took her 30 years to pay a loan to be able to finally live in her house. So that's why also I had to think differently. I say I cannot pay for a loan for my entire life and not being able to live in my house. So I was able to buy the third property, and all those properties, as you say, have land. And the goal is potentially in the future being able to build maybe a granny flat, being able to divide the land, saying that potential opportunities for the future, but also I don't really like stratas, and I didn't want to have to deal with that. The third property is a duplex. but in a very good location. It still looked like a house. So you get all the benefit as well. There is strata, which is that strata has been great so far. So I'm slowly changing my mind. I have to adapt to what I can buy, to the different market. But apartments for me has never been very attractive. Maybe because I lived in housing commission, I do not want to hear about apartments.
Yeah, it's not something we do much of at all. So that's why.
Yeah.
And that property, the third property, looking at the current valuation, has gone up by 28%.
Yes, yep. It keeps growing. I bought it already rented.
That's only a year old.
Yes, exactly. And it was already rented, great tenants. We have all experienced the inflation and the interest rate going higher in the last few years. So I had the chance for myself to increase the rent to cover the loan. But this also has given me a lot of growth. So that was very, very good. And during that period, I was also able to buy a property in Spain for my mom.
Yes?
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
Yeah. So my mom is originally from Spain. She moved to Paris when she was 2. We always go back to Spain on holidays to see the family. So it was something I had to do for her and for myself. So I bought the first investment in Spain in her hometown. And within a couple of years, hopefully it should be paid off and my mom could enjoy the property.
Wow, that's lovely.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of emotion in that purchase, but...
On a location, yes. On an apartment, less. My mom get emotionally attached to a lot of things. I don't, because I have pushed myself to remove that emotional side from investment. But there's definitely an emotional things to the location at least. Yeah,
that's beautiful. And is there a plan potentially mum may move there or to live there, or not really? More of a vacation?
Vacation, just to see the family. So hopefully she can use it soon. And the process was actually interesting because we think it could be maybe easier in Europe to buy. Maybe we think you speak the language so you can have access. Realistically speaking, it was probably the hardest one I bought.
I would have thought so, actually, especially knowing what Spain's like.
Exactly. So buyer agent are not a thing. The ads online, you could not rely on them because there is always some dodgy information on it. So I was lucky enough to have a family in Spain that could inspect the property, but I still had to go there physically myself to sign the paper, which is completely different in Australia. I haven't inspected the properties. I use a buyer agent. I use a mortgage broker, and everything is going very well.
So you went all the way to Spain to inspect a property, yet you've bought 3 in Australia. You've never inspected or seen them.
Exactly. So despite the rental yield in Spain being higher, because the properties are cheaper and rents are high, the process to buy the properties was complicated. And now I have to deal with dual taxation, making sure that it's declared in Australia. So there's a little bit more paperwork. So targeting Australia for the growth long term is very good, and that's what I want to keep doing that. And the Spain, it will be just, as I say, it's a more emotional, and maybe in the future, if I want to go back to Europe, we will see.
So what's next from the investment point of view?
So my goal is to reach portfolio of $100 million. Okay. I would love to have as much as passive income I could have, just not to be greedy, but to be able to give back to the younger generation who are in the same situation that I was when I was younger. So I want to give them the opportunity to see beyond their environment. I want to be able them to be educated and access mentors. I want to give them more work experience where they can be following myself or the collaborators around me to learn. We often sit at school behind the desk and we don't have the chance to see what's happening out there. So my main goal will be to have a large portfolio this my go side. I say I want a nice portfolio, and then being able to access passive income to give back to the people.
Excellent. And that journey is obviously well and truly already underway. But Garden Lust, your business will be the main vehicle for that, or is there plans to, being an entrepreneur, you always think of different things?
Exactly. So I'm already working on multiple ideas. I try to do not eat in multiple plates at the same time. So right now, Garden Lust is my main activity. I focus on taking the business to another level, a little bit more futuristic business with AI. We have created a subscription model. So we are the first landscaping business with a subscription model. I won't say around the world, maybe, I don't know, but in Sydney, in Australia, definitely. This has helped us to understand our market and opportunities better, and also being able to provide a better service to our clients. So growing the business will allow me in the future to keep investing in properties and give me even more freedom.
Well, that's very clever also from a valuation perspective, right?
Exactly. So if I want to put the business on the market, I might attract buyers who are interested by a business that can run by itself.
Correct. The multiples are going to be much higher.
Exactly. So I was worried for a long time thinking that the landscaping business doesn't have much of a value because you have to work physically. So I had to think differently also for the business, and being able to create that model has given me more freedom. And I've just proved it by spending 3 months in Europe. And the business has probably, we had the best number in the entire life of the business while I was in Europe. I can prove that the model is working.
Correct.
So this is very good. I have very good employees. I'm very, very grateful for them. My goal is to be able to give back to them as well. But from a valuation perspective, it's also very attractive to potential buyers.
Amazing, man. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story. Very inspirational. And it shows that we don't need to buy very expensive properties. You can buy borderless. You don't need huge amounts of income either. It's about doing some education and planning, potentially building a team of experts around you like you have done.
Exactly.
I'm sure your mum will be very proud of you.
Very
done in a new country.
She still doesn't believe I didn't inspect the properties.
She probably wants you to take her and have a look at them.
I said, she told me, she said, I want to come to Australia. I want to see those properties with you. She said, I want you to take me there. I said, I don't want to see them. She said, no. I have to meet the people who live there. Yeah. I'm like, no.
Tell her to call me. I'll tell her to everyone.
That's not how it works. So it was very funny that she wants to do that more than me. Yeah.
Excellent. So lastly, it'd be great to, obviously a lot of people listening who are procrastinating, may not a bit worried or scared. How do you get into a property? Any advice that you'd give a first-time investor potentially, or someone who's just not quite sure how to build a portfolio?
Yes. So I will say, firstly, cut expenses. You don't need the nice car now. You don't need the fancy dinner. Cut expenses. There is nothing better than having a hot dog with your girlfriend sitting on a footpath, okay? Secondly, educate yourself. Listen or read as many books as you can. So self-development, relationship book, psychology book, finances, properties. Third, save as much as you can. Save every dollar. Don't spend in things that you don't need. Like save everything. And then just start investing. Start investing will be reach out to the right people, create that team that will help you to reach your goal, and then just do it. That's it.
Thanks for that. That's amazing. And thank you again for sharing your time. It's great to catch up with you properly on the podcast. And,
thank you, Julian.
Yeah, appreciate you being so open and sharing your journey with our listeners.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Thanks, Axel.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed the show, it'd mean a lot if you could take a moment to rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. The Invest Smarter, Grow Faster podcast provides general information and commentary about property, finance, and investing. It does not constitute financial, legal, tax, or investment advice tailored to your personal circumstances. Before making any financial decisions, you should seek professional advice from a qualified advisor. While we aim for accuracy and quality, we cannot guarantee all information is complete, up to date, or free from errors. Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future results. Thanks again, and I'll catch you next time.